Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another Spotlight Tuesday. And tonight we have the wonderful Louise McConville, the Change Catalyst. Now, Louise is, like many of us in the healing community, she has got a lot of strings to her bow. She's a psychic, a medium, a spiritual teacher, a coach, a Reiki master, a healer, a therapist, and so many other things. So welcome, Louise.
Hi.
And Louise is going to share a bit about her journey, and she's also going to share a lovely technique at the end. So Louise, I would love you to, just begin by, I obviously know I know you quite well, but I would love you to share with the group, how you get into this, how you go on this path, and and even your first spiritual experiences, because I know that you've had a lot of spiritual experiences from a young age. So the floor's yours.
Thank you for having me. Really nice. I have been connected to spirit all my life. When I talk about spirit, I'll talk about past loved ones, because I divide spirit and past loved ones. When I talk about spirit, I'm talking about your guides, angels and such like. When I talk about past loved ones, exactly what it is, past loved ones. So I've been connected with past loved ones all my life. I remember from the age of 2, my mum telling me that I used to be able to tell her who was coming to the door. And I remember my first real experience of speaking to a past loved one was at the age of 4. And I remember having this full-blown conversation with this lady, really nice lady, and it turned out it was one of my distant aunts. And my mum had said that she'd only just passed like the week beforehand or such like, and she was coming through. That was the first one. Then sort of went to school, and all of that sort of quietened down a wee bit, but it didn't really, because I always had this place within me that I used to go when I was feeling upset, or because I was bullied at school as well. So when I was getting bullied and such like, and picked on, not so much, I'd say more picked on than bullied. I get actually bullied in workplace more than I did at school. So when I get picked on, I went to this place when I was feeling sort of like inadequate, because I was dyslexic, but nobody knew I was dyslexic up to the age of 16. So at primary school, I had all this stuff going on and such like, and that's where I get sort of picked on, because I wasn't quite like the other children. Anyway, but I didn't realise that that was what was happening to me. It wasn't until, I call it my second awakening. And through the years, there's been lots of different things, and I actually physically seen spirit as well as a child. But again, I didn't know it was spirit. I just thought it was people. And then my second awakening came when I did my Reiki 1. And oh my goodness, was that awakening. Seriously, an awakening. So I did my Reiki 1, which was absolutely phenomenal. It was like life-changing. And I'll say this, not everybody gets this experience with Reiki. Just to let people aware that if they do Reiki in any way, that they're not going to be waking up with dead people sitting beside them. That's not what's going to happen. So when I did my Reiki 1, the one night I'm lying in bed, the next thing I feel the bed moving, and I'm thinking, whoa, what's this? And opens one eye, and there's people in my room, and I'm thinking, well, what is this? And you know how you're in that sort of in between sleep stage type of thing, and then they were touching me and they were speaking to me, and I'm thinking, oh by golly Jesus, what is going on here? Hiding under the covers and whatever. So the only back then, so that's 20 plus years ago, and back then there wasn't internet the way it is now, and I had nowhere to go. I had nothing. I thought, what is happening to me? So then I decided to go to a spiritualist church, and they taught me how to have some amazing mediums as teachers through the years, and they taught me how to channel and how to connect, and basically how to get the answers. And what I will say is that the spiritualist church is very structured in how they teach. I outgrew it. I outgrew it, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever way you want to look at it. And I wanted to know more. I wanted to push the boundaries. I wanted to, because people were asking me to teach them how to be a medium, and I was like, it's a beautiful gift, especially when you can help someone that is lost, a loved one, and helping you being the bridge to help them communicate with a past loved one. but it takes a lot of energy, and it takes a long time to learn, a long time to learn. And there's a lot of ethics in there too.
Yes. Yeah.
And I thought after about 10 years of working full time, having a family, and doing Reiki and teaching Reiki, because I was a Reiki master by 2003, I wanted to find out if there was anything else out there that I could help people with to connect to them, not just to sort of, and give them tools and techniques so that they know how to get some sort of spiritual answer. And it took me a long time. I've done lots of different courses over the years. Dr. Joe Dispenza's, Dr. David Hamilton's. I've done Ken Lewicki's as well, which has been it's been fun. His has been fun, definitely. I've done others, hypnotherapy courses and such, like coaching courses. So I've done a lot of stuff over the years. I've always come back to spirit and past loved ones. Always, always, always. That's my baby. That's part of my life. That's my path. That's my passion. And I've had lots of eerie experiences as well as very nice experiences. I've in my workplace. So I used to work for a big petrol company, running their sites and such like. And every single site I've been in, I have had a visitation. Every single site. And I eventually got to the point where I just accepted it and not tried to go, a little girl running around, somebody standing behind another member of staff, and it's just, it goes on and on and on. And then lots of different things, energy work as well. So lots of different things have happened at one site that, a fire, a wall fell down, a security door from the ceiling fell down, all sorts of stuff within a very short period of time. It was just one thing after the other, and it just been a newly built site. So I'm thinking, right, this isn't right. So when friends did all my usual, I had another site where everything failed. And I mean everything, one by one, they were all failing. And I remember me phoning up the local shop that does crystals and such like, and saying, is there anything you can do for me? I've got loads of people coming in trying to get all these, the tills working, the fridges working, all the rest of it. Ran down, bought these crystals, came back up, placed them where she told me to place them, and it all went ding, 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 ding. And it was
I think you should tell them where you were working, Louise, so that they get a picture. So I think you maybe should kind of clarify so that they get a picture of where you're actually working when you were doing this.
So I was working in a petrol station, a BP petrol station, and the petrol station, honestly, it was seriously bizarre. It was like we were moving stuff from one chiller to another, and they were just all failing. And I'm thinking, what the heck? I'm on the phone to the help desk and we can't get an engineer out there. And then I had 5 engineers come out and they could not figure out what was wrong with it. Couldn't figure out. And I had 1 chiller left and practically all of my chilled stuff in this chiller. And I thought, nah, phoned up Opal Moon and Queen Margaret Drive, spoke to the owner, Joan, and said, Joan, listen, this is what's happened. What can I do? That's fine. Just come down. I'll get you some crystals. It's like, and then I said to all the engineers, do not touch those crystals. Leave them where they are. And the funny thing was, the site got renovated about, I'd say about 10 years after that. And the manager that was in there, so all the managers knew what I did. And the manager that took it over, he went, Louise, I found your crystals everywhere. They were pulling out this, and they were pulling out that, and there was crystals coming out right and centre. But it worked. It absolutely worked. The engineers couldn't understand why, but it worked.
Yes.
So yeah. So I have had a huge journey with spirit, past loved ones, and energy. And these 3 are my babies, basically. And I'm now at the point where I want to teach others. Well, I am teaching others, actually, because I taught others over Zoom last year for 40 weeks about how to connect with their guides, their soul, their higher self, and past loved ones, and also all of their psychic abilities. Yep. So even if they don't want to do all of the other stuff, just connecting with their psychic abilities, the difference that will make in their life is like Oh, it's huge, absolutely huge. Because we are a spiritual being having a human experience, you know.
Exactly.
Every single person on this planet is psychic. Every single person. I get people saying to me, I don't have a psychic bone in my body. Okay. How's your gut instinct? Oh, I've got a great gut instinct. Okay. Well, that's clear cognizance. So I don't think people realise that they're using them.
Yeah.
They just don't know what they are. Or they'll get I get a sense of something and it feels weird. Okay. Empathic, clairsentient, you know, or just a clear cognizance. So and I'd like people to realise and not be frightened of it, because there's nothing to be frightened of. You know,
I think that's a big thing, Louise, isn't it?
Definitely.
There's a lot of people carry of, I know that for even the way that I was brought up, there was a lot of fear. I was brought up, you could use your gut instinct, but when it was anything to do with psychic phenomena, and many people, and you know, shut down their psychic abilities from very young because of those fears.
Definitely, and people will say that you're speaking to the devil. There's ways of don't get me wrong, there's people out there that do have mental health issues, right? And that's totally different kettle of fish. I would never teach anybody that has. And when I talk about mental health issues, I'm talking about bipolar, you know, split personalities, you know, schizophrenics, things like that. That is just a no-go. It's unethical to even think about that. But there is people out there, and I've got students that will say to me, I've had this voice in my head all my life. I was like, I know. You know, and it's being able to tell the difference between your own personal ego and also the actual, your guides or whoever's coming through to past loved one, because sometimes your past loved ones come through too to sort of like encourage you and help you as well, especially if maybe you've just lost someone and you still want to feel that connection. They'll try their hardest, as long as they're in a good place before they pass, or when they pass, they're in spirit world, because there's, you know, the spirit realm, it's like a world as well. And as long as they're in a good place, they will try their hardest to make sure they have a connection with you. But it's giving people back their power. This is all about people's power, you know, and they're being able to open their own consciousness up to say, this is right and this is wrong, and what I'm getting fed isn't right.
Which we know is so important at the moment, and that is
definitely.
And I think, do you not think that's why also so many people are moving towards, they maybe not realise it, but even I've seen a rapid increase in the last 10 years of people moving forward into these kind of things, or looking for help because their soul is crying out. Maybe they don't realise it on a conscious level, but we've gave our power away to the media, we've gave our power to conditioning, to cultures, to religions, to so many things.
Definitely.
That where we lose ourselves, isn't it?
100%. And you know, there's nothing really truly wrong with that either, because in a way we have to find what's good for us and what fits with us. But there's a difference between finding what fits, and if that's a religion, that's a religion. You know, like we have to have faith of some kind. We have to have hope.
Of course, you know?
Yep. But the brainwashing part that comes with some things, not everything, but some
distortions and things, isn't
it? Definitely. And the judgmental part that comes with all of this as well. You know, when you do want to try something new, and you do, I mean, for years people used to think I was weird, woo-woo-y. For years, even my family, not just, you know, people. And that's all right. And it took me a long time to accept who I am, as you know. Because for a long time I wouldn't put on my Facebook page what I actually did and all this sort of stuff, you know. But now I don't care, because as long as it comes from a place of love and a place of light, then you can't do any wrong. It's the same as when I teach my students about Reiki, and when they do sort of you know, like take my course on the spiritual connections thing, when we go through it, I keep saying to them, it's all about intention. You come from a place of love and a place of light, and not being a fixer. There's a difference. But if you're coming from a place of light and you're holding space for someone, then nothing can go wrong. You know, it's just so pure, and if it's a pure love for another person, another human being, And I just feel that now we have to awaken to the point, the part of there is something bigger out there than us that is more powerful. There's good and bad, right? We've got to have good and bad. We've got to have yin and yang. But basically, we come from a place of love and we come from a place of light, and we have all these beautiful gifts that we don't use. And I have been through a lot of charlatans in my life, trying to learn different techniques and principles and different bits and pieces. And I know it is a minefield out there. It's a total minefield, and I totally get it. And I have spent tens of thousands of pounds training and getting to this stage. I would like to get to a stage where I need to live, so I need to pay bills, but I want to get to a place where it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to be able to connect with your authentic self, but also, I hate using that word authentic self because everybody uses it, your spiritual half. The other half of us that we don't actually address or speak to, and we think it's that woo-woo stuff, right? And that's the part that is going to make our lives better. And that's the part that's going to get us through all of this stuff that's going on at the moment, is knowing, and actually knowing who you're speaking to. That's the biggest thing.
Yes. Yep.
Because we could be sitting here right now, and we could be going through a process of connecting with guides and such. Like, how do we know if they're, I don't really like to say light and dark, but let's say if they're the lower of energy, right?
Yeah.
So how do we know who we're speaking to? So if we are connecting with our soul, is it our soul we're speaking to? You know, if we're connecting with our higher self, is it our higher self? So that's how I teach. I teach in a way, and I've now, because I've had so many people ask me, what do I do now? Because there isn't a lot, there's groups out there, but there's, because I've learned from me, they want to know what else. So I'm going to be running once a month. I'm going to be running a wee group one day a month, and it's a full day. It's from 10 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and there's going to be everything in there: questions, answers, techniques, tools. And it's basically to sort of, like, at least if they're not doing it in their daily lives, like, because we all get caught up, let's be honest, at least once a month, sit down and recharge and reconnect and plug in. And I feel that, as I said, I was teaching it for 40 weeks last year, and the transformation in a lot of the students has been phenomenal. And also the aha moments, like, oh my God, I've been doing this all my life, or I've been connected to this all my life, or, oh, this is what I've been hearing and feeling all my life. It has been beautiful to watch, absolutely beautiful to watch. Them develop and blossom. And I'm so glad that I've actually came up with this. And this was only a case of, like, 2021 January, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist, procrastinist. And the spirit kept saying to me, look, just teach it. And I was like, no, I have to have a manual, and I have to have this, and I have to have that, and blah blah blah. And my first class, basically, I wrote quite a few notes out what I wanted to teach and such like, and we did it over Zoom and blah blah blah. And it went from, in my first class, I've still got students from that first class that are still working with me. And I sort of, like, right, okay, so then I put the manual together as I was working with my first class, because I'm a wee bit of a perfectionist, procrastinator. And it's just, I'm still learning from this as well, because I've now found that we have a default setting, and our default setting is either our soul or our higher self. Always.
Right, yeah.
Some people might say, I speak to my angels. Some people say, I'll speak to my guides. But when I connect them in their soul and their higher self, they go, this is who I've been connected to all my life.
Yes, yeah.
So that's the default. And it's been amazing watching, absolutely amazing. And it's been amazing watching. And I've got lots of young people. This isn't, so between the taking Reiki, and I've got lots of young people taking Reiki as well. So between the Reiki, when I say young people, I'm talking about in their 20s. Right, I'm 58, so it's young to me. So in their 20s, and they're also taking the spiritual because they're saying there's something going on, but I don't know what it is. I'm feeling this and I'm feeling that, and it's all energy vibrations that they're feeling and sensations. And then, you know, like one of my students said to me, I feel as if somebody's taking a set of glasses off me. And I went,
That's exactly what it's like, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're seeing, I remember my Reiki one, thinking, oh my goodness, the very first time I went outside, everything was so, my sense, all my psychic senses just went woof. And I could see things like really, really cut, like the grass was really green and the sky was really blue.
Yeah.
And I could smell so many like flowers and different bits and pieces. It was amazing, absolutely amazing. And it was like waking up from a sleep that you think, oh, and this is what it's like. And this is why I want to teach more people. I want people to know about this. And if I'm not the right teacher, I get that, because not everybody is going to come to me, obviously. But I would like, even if they just knew how to use their psychic senses. So, as you and I have been talking about, a sales funnel for years.
Yeah.
I'm putting together a sales funnel, a free sales funnel about the psychic senses. So that others can actually say, right, okay, this is definitely, yeah, I've definitely got this. Oh yeah, I can definitely understand this. Definitely. But
because you need to know the basics, don't they? They need to, if they understand the basics, it gives them so much more confidence.
100%.
And most people don't have, I mean, obviously healers and things do, but most people don't have these basics, and they don't even realize something that is just a basic thing that most of us, well, we all do have it. It's just, what is our strongest sense, really, isn't it?
100%. Yep, 100%. Yep. I feel, right, although I'm clairvoyant, clairaudio, the only two that I don't do an awful lot, especially the taste. I'm like, do not give me taste. Do not want taste, right? I do get smell every so often, but the rest of them, it's definitely clear. But the biggest one is definitely claircognizance and the clairsentience. So you're feeling and then you know. And I believe it's like a triangle. I believe that the triangle is the soul, the higher self, and the gut instinct. And round about that is your energy field. And your energy field goes round, and it's like it's got tentacles, and it goes out and it tests what's going out there, what's going on, and then it brings it right back to the soul of the higher self, which then transfers it as a frequency into the gut. And then the gut then goes, right, well, what's that all about?
Can I ask you, Louise? I mean, a lot of people over the last few years, everything that's went on, some people have been feeling very shaken up about everything and feel as if maybe they lost their intuition, or their intuition was, but they feel, and so they're feeling a bit overwhelmed by it. What would you say about all this over the last few years, and what would you give advice to? Because I know this is something even a lot of healers and spiritual feel as if they've had the rug pulled underneath them because they didn't see things coming. They didn't. What's your thoughts on all that?
To me, I would go back to basics, because their belief system's been shook quite badly. And there's a lot of people that's now, and I get it, right? I get they're questioning that faith, right? I totally get it. But as you and I both know, there's bigger energies at play here. You know, there's bigger sort of like the unit, like source energy. And we, as you and I both know, there's other, well, we're not the only planet, they're not the only beings in the world, in the galaxy, right? And we're getting help, outside help. But what I would say, if they feel really shook to the bone and they're really questioning everything about their own practice, or even just their own life, going back to basics and staying in the state of flow. When you're in the state of flow, whatever vibration that you should be on, you will be on that vibration. So you bring to you whatever is on that vibration and frequency. So what I mean by that, staying in the state of flow. Being in the state of flow, and it doesn't have to take a long time to be in the state of flow, keeping your energy centres clear, right? And keeping them turning. That is the biggest thing. You know, your meridian lines as well, you know, getting the meridian lines and the energy centres flowing. And if you have to go to a healer to get it done, go to a healer to get it done. You don't have to have hands-on healing to be healed. You know, it could be quite easily be held over Zoom. I've had many major, amazing healing. In fact, I had one yesterday from Canada, and it was phenomenal. And my whole body was vibrating at one point. I had goosebumps everywhere. It was just absolutely phenomenal. So you don't have to have hands-on. But the biggest thing is definitely, if you can't do anything, you can't think of anything, back to basics. Stay in a state of flow, get some healing. That is the biggest, or do the healing yourself. Even breath work, because breath work's great as well. It's really good for calming down all this stuff here, and also fear and anxiety, because as you and I both know, the body can't do two things at once. It can't take in that breath and calm everything down and have all that stuff going on too. So you're cutting it to say, no, enough's enough, stop. And I would find definitely music as well, but good music. You know, it can be anything from very relaxing, very sort of, you know, like nurturing music, or really high beat, let's get up and dance and let's get up and boogie. Don't do the hard rock stuff. Don't do, I know some people say that that's what relaxes them and such like, but you and I have seen evidence of slides of water. And it's, you know, it's out there already. It's out there on the internet, that how water reacts.
But I think also one of the things that I know, because I studied music, and that was one of the things that I'd done, and one of the things that shocked me when I studied music was how much the things that go on under the subliminal messaging under a lot of rock music. So many people would be shocked. I mean, I'm not going to say who it was, but one of my lecturers was a top who was in many famous, he owned a recording studio, and he overlooked many, you know, things that were out in the charts, and he would tell you what would be underneath the tracks, and very dark stuff under the tracks. So people didn't realise some of that, and even sometimes the vibrations that these things are in. And also, I suppose, rock and things like that, you've got to remember with the nervous system, and it's interesting you talking about ebb and flow, that there's certain things can be very hard on the nervous system. And some people are more sensitive than others as well.
Definitely. So that you're talking about the stuff that's on, you know, subliminal, that's hypnotic. Without you even knowing, people don't actually have to say anything to you to start hypnotizing you. They play certain music that triggers certain stuff in the brain that then puts the body into an X, Y, and Z state, and it triggers stuff in us. Now, I would be very shocked if there's nobody in this planet that has got no trauma, right? Trauma could be anything, right?
Exactly. Totally. Everybody's got trauma. People misunderstand. Also, I think we've got to remember when we're talking about this, we're talking about different levels of trauma as well.
Definitely. Yes, 100%. Well, my wee niece, who's only 2.5, her mum and dad are terrified of spiders, right? Terrified. So now she's terrified. She doesn't like hairy toes. She calls it hairy toes. When she sees the spiders, she calls them hairy toes. I don't like hairy toes. And when she sees it, you can see her jumping back. Now, she's too wee to understand that. So she's learnt that from her mum and dad.
Oh, yeah.
So somewhere that might end up as an adult being really a phobia, a strong phobia.
Yeah.
So, and this is what I mean about the trauma, right? We're not talking about abuse trauma, and we're not talking about that type of thing. We're talking about stuff like so. Right, I'll give you. As a sort of trauma, it was really crazy. A couple of years ago, I read my stars. I used to read my stars all the time, right? And I read the opposite to my star sign, and the opposite to my star, so the negative to my star sign said that I can be quite lazy, and that I could be, that I can't keep my mind on the job for more than 5 minutes. And you and I know that's true, right?
But you're not lazy. That's one thing I know about you, Louise. You're not lazy.
Definitely not. But in my head, I made sure that nobody would ever think I was lazy. So I did the extra to make sure that when people never seen me like that, to the point where I could be exhausted sometimes.
Extreme.
You know, so there's something in my mind there that somewhere way back somebody called me lazy. And because I've read it's the negative part of my star sign, I believed it because it's triggered something in me to believe. It needed something to anchor onto. Does that make sense?
And of course it is, and that's what happens with distorted beliefs. And if there's an emotional impact with it, isn't it?
Oh, 100%.
I think too many people underestimate because I know obviously my expertise being stress management and trauma, they're there. Sometimes people don't even realize, so you can have post-traumatic, for example, stress disorder, right? But sometimes the small things in people's lives, even though I am not taking, because post-traumatic stress disorder is is a really serious thing.
Of course it is,
but sometimes small things that other people would never think are traumatic are very traumatic. I know as a child, I put my foot in my Wellington and it was a mouse. And I swear on it, everybody would chase me before I would scream my head off. I was terrified. And to this day, but people thought it was funny. You all know what I'm talking about. When people know you've got a fear, they take great joy out of trying to really. So, I remember my friend David, there was a mouse came into my kitchen and I'm running out the front of the house. He's coming in. He thought something had happened to someone. I was that hysterical. And I'm not an hysterical person. So we all do have things that other people would never think are a big deal. But they trigger that response.
But that's a trauma. Because your body's going into fight or flight.
Exactly.
As soon as you do that, so it's a trauma. So we might laugh at it and think it's crazy. Like I had a client who, when I was doing some hypnotherapy, she was terrified of beans. Absolutely terrified. And somebody put beans on her plate. It was
strange, but I've had clients with all sorts of strange things.
And she was like, she started hyperventilating, and she took a panic attack because somebody put beans on her plate, and everybody's round about us going, what that? Now, that's a trauma, because if that gives her that panic attack, that isn't because of the beans. It's whatever the beans relate to.
What it meant, I know what you think, what you thought about it, what you had association with it. Of course,
definitely, and it's all about association, isn't it? Yeah.
And I think the things is, there's some things, and when you can get to the root of a trauma, it makes such a powerful thing. Sometimes, right enough, also people have things going on that they have no even awareness that actually is. So you've got all that as well. What do you think on a spiritual level at the moment? A lot of people are feeling a lot of traumas, again, even some of the things that we're going through at the moment. I know this, but your opinion on, I'm not saying that I know, but what I mean is I've got my ideas about this, but what do you think about how, people, how we view the world, right? And how we see things, and how the fact that, I think what I'm trying to say, I'm maybe not explaining it very well here, but as a human being, when we attach to the human thing, and it's like mortality, for example, right? I know, for example, that having faced my mortality more than a few times, it helped me be more spiritual and be less attached to the human thing, right? And I think sometimes trauma, when you go through lots of things, when I'm talking now about other types of trauma as well, it can help people move forward into that spirituality. It pivots them. And to recognizing what's really important is not the human aspect, but it's the spiritual aspect. What's your thoughts on that, Louise?
100%. So back in 2018, Spirit were trying to get me to choose between working full time and doing this full time. So my business is now my spiritual business is now my full time business. And for lots of years, I kept going, no. I just kept doing both, balancing both, and mainly because I kept thinking I didn't want to charge the crazy prices, and I kept thinking about, how am I supposed to make a living out of this, all this sort of stuff. So in 2018, Spirit gave me a breakdown. And made sure that I couldn't go back to my job, or I wouldn't go back to my job, because every time I thought of going back to my job, something else would happen that was related to the job. And although I've always been spiritual, right, that point there changed me completely. That point there actually opened up another portal, if you want to say yes, have the faith, take the leap. And I'm not telling people to do that, by the way. I'm not telling people to leave their jobs, their full-time jobs, and do this. I'm not saying that. That was my path. They kept saying, I kept saying, how am I going to afford to leave my job? You know, am I going to have to sell my house? All this sort of stuff. And they kept telling me all the way through it, you'll be fine, we've got your back. And I'll give you an example. So one of the times, my employer at the time so nicely stopped my sick pay. And my husband came in to find me in floods of tears, and I'm like, how are we going to pay the bills? We've got no money. Come in. He says, it's fine, don't worry about it. And there was a whole load of there's a pile of letters lying, right? And he's like to me, what are these letters? I mean, I don't know, I don't want to open another one, because the one I opened was to tell me I wasn't getting any sick pay anymore. They'd stopped it because they didn't believe I was sick. They didn't believe I was ill in any way. But anyway, and he opened it and he's taken all these, and he went, Louise, these are all checks. What do you mean checks? And what happened in the January of that year, now this is how spirit do things, right? In the January of that year, a PPI company got in contact with me and said, you know, do you want to go for PPI, you know, claim back the PPI? And I said, right, okay, fine, whatever. And I did it, not thinking anything of it. This was the May now, so this was coming out of May and get into June. And I'd been off for about 3 weeks at this point. And he's like, Louise, that's a lot of money. And when we looked at it, so I stopped fighting with BP in November when they finally said to me, okay, what do you want to do? Settle, because they were in the wrong. And that money paid for all of my bills up until November. And then the November came and I got a settlement that kept me going for the first year of my business, basically, when I was finding my feet and such like. What I will say is that I have always found that when I was in my deepest, darkest moments, now people can say this about religion and faith too, and that's fine too. I have always found light, and I've always had a knowing that they've got me and they've got my back, and that they will bring me out of this. Sometimes I come out kicking and screaming, you know. Sometimes I don't want to come out. Sometimes I'm a bit like, no, I don't want. You're going to do this, you know, like come across this bridge with us, that type of thing. But I have always, through all of my years, I'm 58, through all of my years and all the stuff that's happened to me through my life, when I've turned to my guides and such like, and even past loved ones, I have always felt as if they've held me. Now, it's only just recently that I've started working with angels. And I know now there's a lot of people out there that really love their angels. But I don't work with angels the same way as maybe an angel therapist does. They're part and parcel of my whole sort of team. But mostly it's my guides and such like. But I definitely, hand on heart, would say that there is a team out there. There is something bigger than us out there that has constantly got our back. We just need to have the faith and need to know how to tap into it.
And I think that's such an important thing. But one of the things that I do know about you, Louise, because I've said this to you, I always get the sense in your energy that you had a strong, and it's the trust practice. I know in my life, there were certain times in my life, I didn't have good trust, I have to be honest. I had good intuition. I didn't have the trust, right? When I started to trust, then it was different. But it's also that trusting. It's not just trusting your guides, it's trusting yourself in a way. Because you're listening to the guidance. And I think also sometimes situations that may to other people feel very extreme, seem really extreme, and think, oh my God. Because I know I've had situations where I've had other people judge me and say, I mean, you know, you've got to, you know, to do maybe with health or whatever. But out of that situation, the amazing things that happen.
Oh, amazing.
So if I hadn't had those extreme situations happen to me, I would have never been at the next point in where I would have been, because I'd have never went down that path. So sometimes what we think may be the biggest nightmare and think, Jesus God, what am I getting sent now, is actually a pivot forward. And you can get put in places that you don't, and other, again, and this is where sometimes other people they think they know better. They think, you shouldn't be in a certain place. But as long as you go by what you're guided to do, there's a reason.
Oh, definitely, 100%. And every single person in this planet is unique. And every single person in this planet, so there's loads of mediums and psychics out there, right? And I'm a medium and psychic. First and foremost, energy worker, medium and psychic, okay? And that doesn't mean to say that we are all the same, because we're not. Definitely. How we bring information across, how we get the information as well, and also the vibration that we're on, we're unique in every way. Definitely. The frequency, and it's definitely all about energy, vibration, and frequency. Once we change and tweak our vibration, our frequency, we change our vibration, which changes the energy. And when you do all of that, then everything has to change around about you. It's the law of the universe.
Of course, and also one of the things that I noticed, because I've invested in lots of spiritual teachers and different things. Everybody comes with, and you're talking about other connections and other things. Some people have got stronger connection, and they've all got different gifts, so they all bring something else to the table.
Definitely,
right?
Definitely.
And there is, but again, one of the things we're going to talk about was, just getting onto that subject, so everybody can bring something different to the table. But one of the things that we talk about is the discernment, and using discernment when you are choosing people to work with to help you and choosing for your training. It's not easy, because sometimes we can make, both of us have made investments at times which was a complete waste of money. And sometimes it's you learn, and I think that's going back to your intuition, but also recognizing that just because someone says something doesn't mean that's or what they think as well. But I know we know how important it is for a variety of reasons in psychic work, how that about people that follow certain core values and ethics. Can you talk a little bit about that, and about where some of the problems that can hit when people are not following certain guidelines, or maybe they don't have enough training, or even self-awareness, I would say, is a big thing as well.
A lot of people think that when they get information from past loved ones or spirit, they have to give it as it is. That's right to a certain extent, okay? So let's see, I had the very first time I was training, I seen orange everywhere. I could see orange, I could see oranges, I could see the colour orange, I seen the word orange. And the girl that I was training with, I said to her at the time, I don't know what this means, but I'm seeing orange everywhere. She said, oh, that's my dad, he was part of the Orange Lodge. Right? Now, I would have taken that as the Orange Lodge. I would have taken the big drum as the Orange Lodge, but that's how she recognised it.
Yes.
So spirit, past loved ones will come through with something that they know that person, as soon as you say that word, or you give them that phrase, or you give them that image, they know exactly who it is. And that's fine. That is totally fine, because that's you giving evidence. What I find very alarming and very shocking and very unethical is when someone is given evidence from spirit. They're thinking, well, they might be, they might not be, but I don't believe it for a minute, to tell them when a past loved one's going to die. Who wants to know when someone's going to die? Okay, especially if you're very close to that past loved one, and you shouldn't be given. And that I have had in my life, one of the things I spoke to spirit about and said, right, okay, these are the things that I will not work with. I don't want to know when someone's going to die. It's none of my business. Only tell me if I could save them, and I have done once in my lifetime. And don't tell me if someone is really, really ill, unless I can help with that too. And again, I've had a couple instances where I have been given that information, and all I've said to the person is, listen, your energy field, because people know I'm an energy worker too, your energy feels a wee bit low at the moment. When was the last time you get a wee bit of an MOT done?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
You don't have to turn around and say, oh, spirit's coming through and they're telling me that you've got stuff going on in your womb and it could be cancerous, so you need to get yourself to. You just don't do that, right? You just
And
don't.
Louise, you know as well too that not everybody's accurate. I mean, I
Exactly.
went, and you know my circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the things that I was said, I've been told were quite short. I mean, so off the mark.
Yep.
And you know, sometimes people are presumed that they're 100% right,
Mm-hmm.
and it can come from the, and that can cause. I mean, okay, you know, you choose to go to someone and you're making that choice. But I think what we've got to remember is that people are at different levels of vulnerability sometimes.
Yep, very much.
And
so.
I had a client that came to me with very, very severe mental health issues quite a few years ago. And she had a very disturbing, after she'd started coming, we went to a psychic who told her the most horrendous things about her mum before her mum passed away. Things that I actually doubted it was actually true. I felt energetically that it was more, the person was quite disturbed who said this to her.
Yep.
But to tell us was a young girl
Mm-hmm.
who was already mentally unwell, right? And this just, it broke her. And I think, you know, sometimes also it's the discernment about how you say things, what you do, and also awareness. And having awareness of that we don't always know everything and how we perceive something. We can do it best. But that's a big thing. But unfortunately, a lot of people do things just for money, and this is a big thing. And I think it's always remembering people have to take back your power and say, does it feel right? Does it feel right to me? Or does it not? You know,
most people that come to or go to a psychic or a medium, they're looking for something. They're looking for some help. They're looking for some. Of course they are, right? You have, as a medium and a psychic, you have a huge responsibility as far as I'm concerned. And if you're not willing to take on that responsibility, and I don't normally speak out as much as this, but I've just had somebody come to me recently who is a wee bit sort of estranged from her partner. And she, for all different reasons, for different reasons, and she was told by this psychic that her partner had 3 relationships, 3 affairs. And she's like, no, absolutely not. And she says, listen, stop fooling yourself, dear. I'm telling you, what is that all about? How, now that person's now been stuck in their bed for 2 days because they can't get out of their bed. She was also told other things as well about a relationship that she's like, that's not true. And she went, you're absolutely kidding yourself, you're delusional. That's a power trip. That's a psychic and a medium taking a power trip. That is nothing short of a power trip. And it's wrong in so many ways.
I know I was told by a healer, and I know this is for not definitely wasn't true, and it said I had been sexually abused. Now, even the age and everything was just so off the mark. And I thought I was equipped to deal with that and think, no, right, okay. But people are very vulnerable, can take that on. I know someone very close who was told they were abused, and they kind of believed that. And then it wasn't till later on they went, I don't think it was actually, because it set a kind of something in the psyche to question. Then they started doubting themselves. And I think sometimes, so that's the thing, this can be great work, but it has to be done by care.
100%. I totally agree with you. I think people that do this type of work have to be very, very, if they walked into somebody's room and they wanted a reading of some sort, and that's the kind of reading they got back, could they handle it? If they couldn't handle it, then they shouldn't be telling anybody else it. And there is no way in this earth spirit will come through to tell you all of that horrible graphicness. I do sort of tweak stuff that's been spirit say to me, because I know that person sitting beside me. So I'm saying tweak. What I mean is words that maybe. So say, for instance, somebody's grandpa comes through and says, right, okay, you need to put your big boy pants on and just get a grip. And you know the person's sitting there depressed, but the grandpa in his day would not have taken that as a depression. He would just muck on with it. So you wouldn't, and you can feel the energy from the spirit coming through. And you can feel how sad they are, but the only way they can get through to them would be to say these things, but you know that person's going to accept it. So you would do things like your grandpa's here and he's saying, listen, you need to take care of yourself now. You know, you need to get yourself a wee bit of healing, or get yourself out there, or, you know, let's talk about some ways we can get your energy moving. And that's the type of thing. It's a nurturing. And I feel that a lot of psychics and mediums are just going, bang, that's what you're getting.
Yeah.
They're not taking responsibility for how that person's going to feel when they walk out that door. You know, and that's wrong in so many ways, because I would hate to think MD walked away from me feeling gutted, shattered, unless it was a good shattered, as in they've had a lot of energy work done and it's going to be really good for them. Do you know what I mean? And there's been toxics moving through their system, which is great. But we have a responsibility. Healers as well. Some healers,
definitely.
they'll start working,
Definitely.
and they'll start talking and stuff.
And what people forget is, I mean, I was always taught that when you were healing, you couldn't, you know, if you went into the source, you couldn't, there were certain things you wouldn't pick up or give. But then my experience has been the opposite. And then often sometimes people are carrying stuff in their energy field, and that's another subject we could talk about, Louise, which is a whole other thing. But we're coming to, you know, we've only got another 10 minutes left. So I know you were going to do a technique, and then we'll get you, you know, tell everybody a little bit more about your offerings. But what are you going to do tonight? What are you going to share with us?
I thought I could share with you what I use with all of my students, and it's Ground Centre Connect Protect. And what it is, it takes 5 minutes. A lot of people they will like that. I wanted to stay there longer. And all it is bringing in Mother Earth, moving your chakras, clearing your chakras, bringing in the universal energy through your crown chakra, bring the two of them together. You have the violet flame, and then you are totally aligned, totally connected with both Source and Mother Earth, and then you're in a wee bubble of protection, and that's it. And you can use this all day long. Fantastic. So that's what I was going to do. But I was going to do it with some singing bowls, if that's okay. Just fair, is that right?
That's fine. I might put my sound off just in case, Louise.
That's fine. Right, that's okay. Yeah. Yep. It's just going to be very light. I'm not going to be hitting them hard or heavy. It's just something in the background, okay? So if there's anybody watching just now, if you just find a nice comfortable position, either sitting up or lying down. And when you're ready, you can gently close your eyes. And taking in a nice deep breath, allowing your shoulders to relax, the muscles in your face, your neck to relax. And as you constantly breathe in and out, allowing your body to go into a nice rhythmic pattern. Just bringing your consciousness down to your feet. And just allowing your feet being like the roots of a tree, going all the way down into Mother Earth, all the way down into the crystalline core of Mother Earth. And as these roots meet Mother Earth, bringing back up the beautiful energy from Mother Earth. And as this energy moves up over your feet, up over your ankles, up over your calves, and your knees, moving up over your thighs, and stopping at your root chakra. As this beautiful energy of Mother Earth, of Gaia, stops at your root chakra, spinning and clearing, beautiful red. And moving into your sacrum, spinning and clearing. Beautiful yellow. And now moving up into your solar plexus, spinning and clearing. Beautiful orange. And moving up into your heart center. And as your heart center begins to open, allowing this beautiful energy to flow through you and around you, know that you are safe and protected. And the back of your heart center is open to receive healing, love, guidance, abundance, and the front to let go of anything that no longer serves your highest or greatest good. And now moving into your throat chakra, beautiful blue, spinning and clearing. Now into your third eye, beautiful purple, spinning and clearing. And now allowing your crown chakra to open wide. And as your crown chakra opens, allowing beautiful white golden light to pour through the top of your head. And as this pours through the top of your head, it connects with Mother Earth, with Gaia. And as Source and Gaia come together, they form the violet flame. And as they form the violet flame, it moves around your body and through your body. This is you now grounded, centered, connected, and then imagine yourself in a beautiful bubble of protection. And then taking in a nice deep breath, and just allowing your eyes to gently open, just when you're ready. You're still muted.
That was lovely, Louise. I'm just going to some of the messages just before, while everybody's just coming back. So Sharon says, I recently had a horrid experience at work that left me broken. Unfortunately, it wasn't the first time either, but I most definitely suffered trauma at the time and afterwards. It's definitely affected me, and I have no doubt it will continue to for a while. I don't think people understand trauma. It's not always life-threatening incident, but still can have far-reaching.
Definitely.
It definitely can. Fortunately, I believe I'm over the worst of it, but yes, it changed me and put me on a spiritual path. Oh, it's interesting, Sharon. There's plenty of people in this group that can help you, including Louise. What kind of music did she say is hypnotic? There's a lot of different types of music that are hypnotic. Yep. And I think it depends on the frequencies, doesn't it? It can depend on the tempo. There's lots of different.
YouTube.
There's good hypnotic, and there's not so good hypnotic.
Yeah, definitely. Have a wee look at YouTube. YouTube, I've got definitely things like singing bowls, or like the sort of Celtic soft music, like spa type music. It might not take you long to find something that you like and that you prefer, but definitely YouTube's got everything.
So it has. I think it's always good to check in with the music, isn't it, to feel what kind of energy it feels.
Definitely.
So saying something, I listen to classical music on the school run. My kids only want that now. It calms everyone before the day starts.
Yep. My son, the only way I could get my son to sleep when he was a baby was to put on classical Fantasia. Loved Fantasia. Loved it.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, funny enough, when I remember when I left music college and I couldn't tolerate music that I used to love. And I went through a phase where, for example, rock music and everything, just could tell it was really impacting me, and I realised it was not for me anymore. And I started listening to some classical, and it was, I mean, a lot easier, a lot younger than me in the group, but I mean, this was, so I was about 21, and there was these little magazines you got, and you got a little free seed, and it were like kids, and it was introducing you to classical music, and it really, really helped me because there was some lovely music. Now, would you call it, Sharon saying, "Thank you, Eileen. Louise, beautiful ceremony has already made me feel better." That's good.
Oh, I'm so pleased.
Is how do we get in touch with Louise? Does she have a website? As I'm going to ask her to share it, and she's going into the things that she's offering. So Louise, share away, and what your offerings you have at the moment, and how they can get in touch with you.
So Eileen, this is Eileen's bugbear with me, because Eileen's been trying to get me to get my website up, and I do have a website, but my Instagram and Facebook page.
How many years is that, Louise?
Oh, I know, it's quite a lot. I'm working on it, honestly, guys. I'm terrible, and Eileen's been great with it. So just get me through Instagram and Facebook. My phone number's on there, so just WhatsApp me or send me a text or whatever. So I'm still teaching Reiki. So I'm teaching Reiki. I've got all my dates for this year and for Reiki, but I'm also teaching my connections 1 and 2. I'm putting together my connections 3 at the moment. So my advanced students are going, "Oh yeah, what's going on here?" And I was like, "Oh, loads of things." Anyway, so I've got all my dates for those 2, but I am starting to run, as I said, once a month, this 10 toll, and I've got a maximum of 10 people, because the place, I don't really like to do large groups, and it's not because I can't, it's just I like to be able to link into your energy and to make sure that what is going on is okay, and everybody that's in the group is okay. And if somebody's struggling, I know exactly that they're struggling, but if I was in a bigger group, it would I maybe miss some people. So that's it. And you don't have to have done any of my courses for this. This is an introduction, and we'll cover energy, we'll cover psychic abilities and such like, and it's £60 for the full day. So it's 10 o'clock till 5 o'clock. My connections workshops are £270, all the same price. They don't differ. The Reiki's different, and mainly because I've just set it the way my Reiki master set it, and it's been the same prices. The Reiki prices have been the same prices since I actually started Reiki teaching. So I haven't put them up, and I'm not going to put them up, because I feel it's the same as my other stuff. I know everything's going up right now, I get that, but then I feel that there's going to be people that are going to say, "Well, I can't afford that because the price is too high, because everything that's going on at the moment," right? And I totally get it. So everything's frozen just now, because I want more and more people to get to know this. So even if you come to the group, I'm actually thinking about doing the Zoom. So once a month, again, doing it on Zoom rather than doing it as well as doing it in person. So because I have got lots of clients in different parts of the world. I also do a meditation class once a month as well. And it's like singing bowls and a guided meditation. I choose different topics. Well, they tell me what to do, basically. If they think the whole group needs a healing, an angel healing, that's exactly what they'll get. If the whole group needs some, sort of help from past loved ones, then that's exactly what will happen too. And again, I have an in-person one once a month too. And I do lots of one-to-ones. I do lots of one-to-one coaching as well, and sessions, readings and Reiki and such like. So yeah, so that's what I do.
So Louise, what I'll do is I'll get you to add your details in the group, and then when this goes on to YouTube, I'll add the details below in the YouTube channel.
Okay. Fantastic. Yes.
So it was great to have you. Always, spend some time in here.
I could talk forever.
We both could talk forever, couldn't we? It was great to have you on, Louise. Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing your lovely technique. I'm sure the group really enjoyed it, and there's Tanya says thank you both. She's just caught the end, so and she'll love to get grounding. She'll watch the rest later. And as Sharon says, thank you.
If there's anybody that really wants that technique, right, and they want it on their phone, if they send me a text message and say they're from your group, I'll send it to them.
Fantastic.
I've got it recorded,
great.
so yeah, so they can get it on their phone and they can just listen to it again and again. This here is about staying in the state of flow.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Fantastic, Louise. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much for listening to me.